transferable skills.
Today's guest is Josh Anisfeld, who will share his journey and skills with you. I want to thank the sponsor of this episode, Handily, video chat with pros on demand to conquer your home DIY and get your toughest questions answered by vetted experts. Visit www.gethandily.com and use coupon code MADSKILLS at checkout to get your first 15-minute session free. Josh, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Noah. It's great to be here.
Tell me how you got started in your professional career. Where were you at that time?
When I left college, my first using my marketing degree was at a local advertising agency. I'll be frank, I was only there for about 6 months. And at that point, my brother was a stock trader. He offered to get me a job doing stock trading. And so I took him up on it. And I did that for about 2 years. And I was absolutely terrible, awful. Couldn't make any money, losing money every day. And after about 2 years, as fun as I was having and decided it was time to make a change. I could not keep going to work to lose money every day.
Losing money wasn't fun anymore?
It was no fun anymore. I was broke as could be.
There's a whole industry and, in fact, a couple different cities in our country that are devoted to people just losing money. Vegas is pretty successful and people seem excited about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't the house. I was coming home every day with less money than I went to work with, and it was just getting to be ridiculous. And
so is that lesson number one? The takeaway is if you're going to gamble or if you're going to trade, you're going to invest, be the house?
If you're going to gamble, at least have the money to do it. Don't be borrowing money from your employers to gamble away and then have absolutely no income.
We've heard many stories that follow that path and they never end.
It didn't end well. Not a single skill that I use today came from that stock trading day. Not a single one.
You probably took away a bunch of soft skills from that experience.
Maybe not. I don't think so. At that time, I was what's called a proprietary trader. So I was trading the company's money. And this was day trading. Let's be frank. It was just buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. Just trying to scalp a few dollars here and there. At that time, there was a lot of money to be made. There really was. And some people had it. Some people didn't. I didn't. I did not have any of the technical skills that came with that in terms of chart reading and all of that stuff. It wasn't something that I realized at that time that I figured I needed to learn. I just figured I took the advice that everyone gave me of just feel the market, see where things are going.
When someone tells you that, they give you advice on how to read the market. Is that it? Or are they actually giving you tactical strategies and advice on how to read the market and how to project things and how to make calculated decisions?
You know what? I wish that the place I was had more of that education. It just didn't. They were just basically taking anybody who wanted to trade and teaching them a few little skills on what buttons to press and like just take a stock and start trading it. And every day it was like, down $1,000, down $2,000, down $5,000. There were a few good days here and there, but overall, just it wasn't in my skill set, and it wasn't something that I saw myself doing long term. So, I finally made a decision one day that I needed to figure something else out. And I was in my late 20s at the time, living here in Chicago, and I'd always had this passion for entertainment, television, film. It was just always what I loved. Didn't know a single person, did not know what I was doing, and I decided one day that I was just going to start sending out a ton of emails and letters, like handwritten letters back in those days, and calling people and offering up to basically help in whatever they needed. And I was offering to do it for free just to get some experience. I ended up getting a few gigs here and there as production assistant, doing some work on some corporate video stuff, some reality TV shows. I was working as a production assistant on a horror film here in Chicago called Cup of My Blood.
A family film?
It was a family film. It was absolutely a family film, rated G. And I reached out to them and I said, hey guys, listen, independent film. I just need to learn. Let me come learn for free. I'll do it for free, whatever help you guys need. So they brought me in.
Was it something that you knew years before that you were interested in TV film production? Or was this something like later on that you just said, this is something I'm going to try?
It was something I was always very interested in. I loved the industry and I love entertainment. I'd never made any moves to be a part of it. Just went into business from there. But then when I hit this crossroads, I thought it's now or never. I'm either going to try to do this now. I'm not going to get into entertainment when I'm 40 years old. And so I just decided to start trying it. And I was working on this independent film, and they were just giving me job after job. And I found myself working on some reality show that was filming here in Chicago, and I ended up doing a few day jobs on movies like The Weatherman with Nick Cage and um, Ocean's 13 that was filming up in Lake Forest. So there were some really exciting parts of that. Getting to be working every day and like just see Nicolas Cage over there and see George Clooney over there. That was to me, that was the end all be all. Like that was
Yeah.
amazing. I have my stories and I get to tell people I'm doing some really cool stuff. And
Working hard to try to get your foot in the door. Once you got it in the door, were they just contacting you, or did you keep using any kind of skills to keep advocating for yourself, reaching out, soliciting new opportunities?
absolutely. And that's actually a skill that over the years, I found that I have. I don't know how I got it, but I have the skill of being able to get in touch with the people that I need to get in touch with. Call it whatever you want, call it stalking. I don't even know. But just through being able to research who people are and figuring out how to have a conversation with them, not just calling them up and saying, hey, I want a job, but doing it in a real strategic way of saying, this is where I want to be. The job you have is what I want to be doing. I'd love to talk with you about what you do and just building relationships. And that is a skill that I've really carried throughout my career, no matter what I've been doing, is that relationship building is absolutely key to everything we do. And I can't think of a job where you're not trying to build relationships in some capacity.
Yeah.
And so there was a tremendous amount of just me talking to people and calling people.
I can't imagine that just a cold solicitation works most of the time, because I'm often on the receiving end of that,
Mhm.
and 90 some percent they're ignored by me and many others. So you must have an approach. And so if you could describe for us a little bit about the steps you take in your approach towards making that strategic cold solicitation, that outbound either LinkedIn message or phone call or email that you think probably led to a higher conversion rate.
Yeah, you're right. Cold calling, cold emailing, cold outreach in general, it's really difficult. And I've been lucky that I have reached out to a few people and I've been able to get in touch with them here and there. I think today's world is probably a bit of a different story. We're all so inundated with emails and calls and texts. We have it coming at us every which way. My approach to it was more about getting to know them and them giving me advice. Call it an informational interview, call it whatever you want. That was my approach. And it was super authentic, by the way. I was not doing it in a way of, tell me about yourself. And by the way, can I have a job? It wasn't like that.
Right.
It was really about, I needed to understand what was that industry? What were my opportunities in the industry? The other approach that I had was proof of concept. At that point, it was just offering to work for free. I got hooked up with some show for MTV. I found out who the production company was, somehow got a hold of the producer of this show. And I said, listen, I really want to be on this show. I would love to work. What can I do? And they said, we already have our crew set. We don't have any more money to put people up at the hotels. I said, oh, fine. How about this? Put me on the show, give me a job, pay me the rate that you'll pay a production assistant. I will put myself up at the hotel. I'll pay for my transportation. I will do all of that. And they said, great. So they did that. So that was another job right there.
They knew that you were legitimately interested in this because of what you were willing to do to just get
Absolutely.
yourself involved in this
Yes.
production. And I think that also goes a long way by demonstrating that you are creating buy-in, and you're demonstrating that. You're saying, I'll lower your risk and your cost by giving me this opportunity. And that's no different than an unpaid internship to some degree.
I agree. I agree.
And before you have that long career background, that is your reputation and the confidence for somebody to hire you or want to work with you, is you have to prove your worth and your interests and your value.
That's right.
And you do that by either working for free, taking some sort of compromise on your compensation, your time, whatever that is, until you have that reputation.
That's exactly correct. And I brought that with me throughout the rest of my career as well, showing people what I can do. Later on in my career, I did the same thing. I had started speaking with the chief marketing officer at a company that I eventually ended up there for almost 9 years, and asked me to do anything. But what I did was I took the time and I did a project. I went through and I built out a website assessment for them. I was already into digital marketing at this point, but I just built out a 20-page website assessment for them. I sent it to him and I said, you never asked for this. I wanted to show you what my work could be like. And he told me that was what got me the job. That was 100% what got me the job, was just taking that step. You have to be creative. You have to be persistent. And sometimes, yeah, it could feel weird to do some things, but what do you have to lose?
If you're in any kind of professional role like sales, account management, business development, relationships where you're either obtaining or retaining outside client business, you're going to have to do that throughout your career anyway. You're going to have to constantly be pitching or putting out a proposal for what you can do as an outline. So why not start when you're looking for a job for yourself? And you said earlier, it's taking that step. It's taking that extra step. Most people are going to submit a resume. I think the step above that is if you include a cover letter.
Yep.
This, and especially if the cover letter has been written specifically for the role. And then I
Yep.
guess the step on top of that, if you're doing anything to provide a portfolio or sample work or something specific that you think would demonstrate your skills and capability
Yes.
to be successful in the role that they're seeking to fill.
Yeah. And it's funny, until like just this second, it didn't even dawn on me that job search and me trying to get into that industry really helped me with what I do right now, because I was essentially marketing myself and I was coming up with new and creative ways to put myself in front of people. Exactly what I do with my career right now. We're talking about skills, and it's funny that actually never even dawned on me until this second. But this is what a lot of what I do right now is I'm coming up with creative ways. When I'm marketing for a client, we're really coming up with creative ways to get them out there or to reach whatever goal that they want. But at the same time, I work at an agency and we're constantly trying to come up with creative ways to put ourselves in front of potential clients. So there's that sales aspect to it as well. And those types of skills really have carried through my career from way back when I was trying to get into the entertainment business.
Yeah, that's to me, from what I'm hearing, that's where it really started is when you were getting out of the day trading, you were you're doing that on your own accord. You were deciding that this is no longer for me. So what do I have to do? What steps do I have to take to advocate for myself to find the next thing? And you were hustling probably at least equally as hard to find that next thing for yourself as you probably were on some of your research and decisions on the day trading for the business
Right.
itself. You had to start, you were running two businesses, your actual day job and then selling yourself and finding that next thing. That was when you started
That's
becoming
right.
extremely autonomous and independent on your production level for yourself. You were producing Josh Anisfeld.
True. It's true. You're absolutely right. I was building my brand and I was showing what I could do. I was learning, I was being nimble and just trying to figure out what is the right way to put myself in front of people and get to the steps that I needed to get to.
You sound like you're a natural salesperson. Did that ever strike you as something that you'd want to do, like specifically sales as a role, or that was not something interesting to you?
Now, sales never really did it for me.
What do you think?
Not sure. I don't know. It's a great question, and maybe I would be successful with it, but it was a financial thing. I don't want to be working on a commission based business for myself. That's not what I want. I like stability. That's something I really, which is, it's funny actually, because that stability was what took me out of the entertaining business. I like having a steady paycheck and benefit.
It is certainly not underrated.
No, it's not. It's not, especially at this age where I'm at with two kids at home. I had a very short stint as a salesperson at one point, or for a short amount of time, just doing inside sales. I was so bored. I was just so bored out of my mind.
You're in production, TV production, you've done a bunch of things. Why leave an industry that you were very passionate about?
I ended up moving out to Los Angeles, packed up my car. It was the proverbial story that you hear all the time. I literally packed up my car with my clothes and a television. I had nowhere to live. I didn't know a single, I knew one person. I lied. I knew one single person and I had no work. I had nothing. I was just picking up and going. While I'm driving out to Los Angeles, I got this idea. I reached out to the TV gossip reporter at E Entertainment Television. And I said that she had her email address up on the website saying, "Got some gossip? Share it with me." So I reached out to her. I said, "I've got some gossip about one or two of the contestants on The Apprentice. And I would love to talk with you about it. And I'm hoping maybe you can help me." I said, "I'm trying to get some work. I'm driving out to Los Angeles right now. I need to get some work. Can you help me get a job interview at E? And I'll tell you this gossip." Same day, she emails me back and says, "Do you have time to call for a call?" So I'm calling her And I tell her the gossip. She says, "Send me your resume. I'll get it over to our HR department." So we did that same night. She's on TV telling the gossip that I just told her. And to this day, I really hope it was correct. So I'm going to feel horrible if it was just completely fake news. I have no idea if it was or not.
It's
um,
crazy that for a fact, or as close to a fact as you can, that they didn't do the research on the gossip. They didn't even really
just
care.
reported it. Yeah. So
Anonymous tip.
Anonymous tip. That's right. This was a little less than anonymous. So as I'm driving out to Los Angeles, that was the one thing that happened. The second thing that happened was that one of the cold emails that I had sent before I left actually came through for some reality show that Fox was doing, some home makeover show. And they said, "When are you going to be out here?" And I'm like, "Monday, I guess it was." And they said, "Can you start Tuesday?" Wow. Great. So my second day there, I had a job.
I'm sure that's the case for everybody who moves to LA.
Every single person. Every single person.
It's never happened.
Every single person. I got lucky. I got super lucky.
Sometimes our skills at work aren't always transferable at home. I often find myself in the middle of a home improvement project and realize I'm in way over my head. I might have great DIY ideas, but don't always know where to start. And sometimes I'm just not sure if it's going to end up being a small problem or a tremendous problem, or how much it might cost me to fix that problem. Well, that's the sweet spot for people like me using Handily. It's the perfect solution for homeowners who might not have all the skills needed for every task. Handily allows you to video chat with home improvement pros on demand. You can connect with trustworthy general contractors and plumbers, electricians, or HVAC pros who can guide you through your project and problems right from the comfort of your own home. I had a hole in my bathroom ceiling for the past year, literally, because I couldn't figure out where the leak was coming from. And it was the perfect opportunity for me to use my Phone a Pro Lifeline and get some expert eyes on the problem. Head over to gethandily.com and book a session now. And here's a special offer for all you listeners of the Transferable Skills podcast. Get your first 15-minute Handily session free by using coupon code MADSKILLS at checkout. Don't let a lack of skills hold you back. Get expert help with Handily.
I ended up doing that, and then I ended up leaving E and I worked for a casting director after that, doing reality show casting. And after about 3 years in LA, I decided to come home back to Chicago. I kept working in the entertainment industry by getting a job at a local production company here in Chicago. And they had hired me to do development. And this is where the transition started. It was right here where I started to see that the world was going digital. And this was back in the day where phone networks would have their own networks, their own entertainment networks. Like they had something called Verizon On Deck and all these little networks where you can watch mobile content. And I decided that digital content was the way of the future, and that was my path forward. And I decided to try to make a go of it. I got a job at Playboy, of all places.
Naturally.
Playboy was huge here in Chicago. We had national headquarters were here, corporate offices. And so they brought me in as, I think the title was like manager of mobile content development. And it was awesome. I'm not going to lie to you. It was awesome. The first day I was there, they dropped a file of DVDs on my desk of Playboy TV shows. And they gave me a list and they said, "You need to rate them." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like movies, G, PG, PG-13, R. They said, "Here's the rating for adult content on digital." And it's like, if you saw a nipple, it was this. If you saw this, it was this. I spent a week watching porn. And every time someone walked by, I'm like looking over my shoulder like I'm doing something wrong. But
Wait,
don't need to do this.
You need to qualify that a little more. You spent a week getting paid to watch porn.
Paid to watch porn. Watch and rate. Rate it. So
why aren't you still there?
Playboy shut down. It was real. It was fun. It was cool. That was obviously a fun story to tell, but there was a lot more into it. And we were developing their mobile website. I never went to the mansion. I know it's the question everyone asks me. Never got to go to the mansion. But it was a really fun job, and it really started to solidify my gut feeling that digital content was where things were going.
Totally.
Unfortunately, after 8 years, the magazine went to garbage. They basically shut down, and they said to everybody, they offered a handful of people jobs out in LA. I was clearly not one of those people. And my boss said to me, we need to find something new because we're all, all losing our jobs pretty soon. And that's where this current career really picked up. I ended up at Edelman Public Relations, which is a huge public relations firm. And they had a mobile marketing division at that time, which was a natural segue from where I was. They were able to overlook the Playboy thing. It was the skills that I had that a lot of people didn't have, which was mobile content and how do people use their phones to engage with customers and with clients. And it was that type of thing that they couldn't find people with that experience. And so they hired me to come work in their mobile marketing division.
Yeah, talk about a moment in history where you're just seeing a massive transition, a shift in how we market and digital consumer experience. And nothing has been the same ever since.
Nothing's been the same ever since. Absolutely. All of a sudden, things really started taking off from the industry perspective. Facebook went out, became open to everybody, and our clients were starting to jump into social media. I was working with Unilever and Axe Body Spray. They were one of the first brands to have a social media ambassador, for lack of a better word, a, a voice that was in social media. And what we did was that we actually, not we, but Axe hired two people who were going to create content for their Facebook page, and they called it the Voice of Axe. That was like the entry level into what everybody started doing, which was social media managers and content creation for it. And I was on the
Yep.
ground floor being able to see this stuff. So we're getting away from the whole premise of this podcast, which is skills. But this was one of the things that I started to realize that I could find my way through all of this. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't understand about digital marketing and website development and all of this. Google's been my best friend throughout a lot of my career because if I don't know something, I'm just going to figure it out and learn it. And that is a skill I still use to this day. You know what? If I don't understand a piece of code, how do I fix this on this person's website? I'm going to find that answer.
Totally. I think number one thing that has helped me in my professional career with no exception.
Yeah.
Gone are the days of debate, right? It's rare that you have a
Yeah.
situation where you debate some sort of fact or statistics that you can't just find right away. And the same thing goes for learning skills is if I don't know how to do something, and I see this literally on an almost daily basis today, still as I'm producing or editing content, is how do I do this command or how do I do this or edit in this
Right.
way? I just go and look it up and teach myself. And that is
And
growth minded.
there's no shame in that. There's no shame in that
Not at all.
whatsoever. Not
The
whatsoever.
opposite. I think that there's pride. I'm proud that I am self-reliant and autonomous, the ability
Absolutely.
to teach myself the skills that I am seeking without having to bother someone else or spend a laborious effort trying to figure out elsewhere. And so having resources and access to things like YouTube and Google are tremendous. And I would say the same thing, the way I was approaching and you were approaching learning new skills and how to refine them. Then I think today it's shifted in addition to just queries, it's now also the ability to use AI to teach yourself. I have friends who are doing insane things with spreadsheets by way of AI, the ability to type in what you want to do, it spit out a command. Same thing with programming. You can write a script pretty easily now without any coding background.
I agree.
There's a lot there to take away from that, where people can just learn anything and hack away at it if you've got the patience and the interest.
Beyond that, I think back then there was probably, and I told people that I learned a lot of what I do because of Google, there would be probably people would be like, "Oh, you weren't trained in it, you weren't educated in it, you just bullshitted your way to that." Eh, sure, fine, whatever. I still
Yep.
learned it, and I think in this day and age, exactly what you just said, generative AI. Everybody's scared of it. People think it's cheating, and yeah, sure. If you're talking about writing a paper for school, fine, maybe that's cheating. But when it comes to the workforce these days, and we deal with this a lot, this is part of what we talk about a lot is AI and generative AI. To me, it's more about harnessing it and how can you use it to actually help you. And it's not cheating, it's helping you be more efficient. There are parts of it that could be cheating, and but you got to learn how to do that correctly. But I agree. And that's probably the biggest skill I learned is just resourcefulness. And I look for that in the people that I hire these days. Don't come to me with every single question. Try to be resourceful. Find an answer to it. The answers are all out there. Talk to people.
Yep,
Learning how to be resourceful is a skill that has carried throughout my career.
definitely. That's a huge one. And having just personal drive and motivation
Yes.
backed by that commitment, eh, that's a winning combination. So being resourceful, wanting to be driven, motivated, autonomously, self-driven, all that. I think you nothing can stop you.
Yeah, I agree. And so I spent more some time in that agency. I went through a few different agencies, which is part of the course in the agency world. You go up and hop around and just made some very strategic career decisions. And then I ended up working in professional services. This is where I started to see all my skills from a previous life starting to really come into play here because we're living in this world of content and storytelling, being able to deliver personalization at scale. And I started to realize that a lot of the skills I learned from being in entertainment and television and film and video were starting to now really come in helpful when it comes to this stuff because content marketing is a very big part of what I do. Even just last week, I was at a client's office and we were doing a video shoot. And it was like putting my TV hat right back on again, getting a production company in there, doing the scripting, creating a run of show for the day, sitting down. I was doing the interviews and trying to pull stories out of people. This all of this type of stuff is direct from my days working in the entertainment industry. And I think it makes me a better marketer, being able to know how to create content. Content is different these days. It's not just video content. The video content is sure a big thing, but also building our corporate website, which was another thing that wasn't, I'd never built a website before. And I didn't build it myself, but I taught myself how to write an RFP. I did the research on the agencies that can do it. I learned how to do scorecarding so I can quantify who should we hire, who should we not. The relationship building was instrumental with that, is that in that position in a professional services firm, if you are on the corporate side of things, the consultants and the partners in the firm, they are your clients. And being able to, and you cannot get projects moving unless you have buy in, executive buy in, and people who are going to champion these ideas. And you can't do that without the relationships. And that was something that I really had to learn and build those relationships. And I taught myself how to do segmented targeting and email marketing and all of this. And I started to try to make myself expert in the company on marketing technology and working really closely with their IT team. I had a dotted line into the CIO, and I never looked to get into a kind of a super corporate world. I wasn't working with McDonald's anymore. I wasn't working with Axe Body Spray. I wasn't working at Starbucks, and I sure wasn't working at Playboy anymore. But there was some real interesting things that we were able to do there. And that brought me to where I am today. And one day I get a LinkedIn message from the head of my current company. We are a legal advisory agency. I get a cold message from the co-founder, Spencer, right over LinkedIn. And he said, "You have a really interesting background. We have a chief digital officer position open. Do you want to come talk to us?" I was happy where I was. Don't get me wrong. I was in a good place. I was in a good position, but I also knew I topped out where I could go in that organization. So I'd hit the ceiling, and that scared me a bit. I'd said to myself, I'd never get back into the agency world again. I was dead fast about it. He was just an awesome guy, and he sold me. He just sold me. And the opportunity to build something, a function in an industry that is so far behind the times when it comes to digital marketing and just digital communications and technology and innovation. That was really exciting to me to be able to really put my stamp on something. And all those skills that I had brought with me, from being nimble to networking and relationship building and resourcefulness and storytelling, all these skills that you and I have just talked about over the past hour culminated with where I'm at right now. And to this day, I'm still using all of those. And that's how I ended up with where I am.
What stands out to me most as a skill that you kind of brushed over, but probably the hallmark skill and characteristic that I've heard from you is really your interest, your growth mindedness, and willingness. desire, maybe need to continue learning. And that is the number one skill that I'm hearing that has built every other skill that you possess and will likely in the future is that you want to keep getting better at what you know and you want to keep learning about the things that you don't know. And those have opened every single door that you have ever walked through.
I agree. And I'm actually getting to that age where I'm starting to fear for the future. You start to really see the younger kids coming up. And especially in this business that I'm in with digital, it's going so quickly. Even just this morning, I was looking at courses and educational, probably not like another degree, but certifications or whatever it is on artificial intelligence. And I understand enough to have a conversation about it, but not as much as I want to understand to be able to go in and counsel our clients on it. And I need to educate
Yeah.
myself on that stuff. And that's not gonna stop.
And you want to stay ahead of the trends. You want to be along with the ride as opposed to watching it pass you by.
Correct.
But at the same time, there are certain things that you're not going to pick up from a online course or just a YouTube video. And that is all the stuff that you have mentioned in your entire background that you don't come out of college or high school and suddenly possess, which is the experience and the leadership roles that you have served in that every single thing that you want to stay on top of technology wise and innovation and trends is going to give you the lexicon, the fluidity, and knowledge to be able to talk to them. Whether you actually get hands on yourself is up to you, but ultimately, that'll give you the foundational knowledge about what it is that you're going to help
That's right.
when it comes time to hiring those people you're talking about that are emerging into these industries that are born into this technology that know it and might be technically ahead of where you're at. But one of the things that everyone's going to need is mentorship, guidance, and support. And that comes from effective leadership that you can also continue to lean on in the future while you're supporting those people that, in the same way you were supported when you were their age, when you were coming up to, you had somebody that was always looking out for you. You proved yourself, but then you always had to report to someone. And the jobs that I assume you had longer than a few months were the ones that you probably were reporting to either individuals or for a company that you believed in and that were giving you the proper guidance, support, and mentorship that you ultimately benefited from.
I couldn't agree with that more. Absolutely. And I try to do that with the people that work with me as well. I have some gaps to fill in my management. I often get just too inundated with my work and forget, oh God, I've got a team also. And I'm not without fault. I am one of these people as well that
None of us are.
no, you're a pretty cool guy. um, but
Everybody's on a learning and growth
it's
path,
true.
whether you want to accept it and take advantage of opportunities to learn and grow, or whether it's just a reality, but you're ignoring it. Nobody is perfect. And if you are perfect, what more do you have to live for? We want
It's
to
true.
continue to push
It's
ourselves to grow and
it's
to get better, right?
it's a good point, and I think we to this day we still do performance reviews and mid-year reviews, and every company I've been at, we do this, and it is a boring, tedious process that companies have to go through. But the people who take those seriously and can sit there and listen to people tell you areas that you can improve on. And I have no vanity with this stuff. One thing you'll never see from me is I'll never go into a performance review with myself and argue because I try to really take that guidance. I take it as guidance and I'll never be too old to assume that I can't change or structure myself in a different way. And I think that is absolutely important. So I agree with everything you said. That just that learning and that mentorship is so key. And we're going to hit a day where I just not understand the technology anymore. We're all going to hit that.
That's okay. Embrace that day when it comes because it means that you can now ease up on the gas,
Right, right,
allow yourself to now move into the right lane,
right. Yeah.
drive the speed limit and let everyone who wants to move faster than you go by while you lean on your assets and what it is that got you there in the first place. I think that's fine. We're all going to get there and I'm forward to that time when I feel like I've proven myself enough, not to the world, but maybe just to myself. And that's the time when maybe I start feeling more confident and comfortable.
I just want to be, I can only hope I could be retired by the time I don't understand any of the technology anymore.
Totally.
But, even if I'm not, if I'm able to at least bring value to people that I work with through mentorship, through showing what it's like to be able to have these types of skills, then I think there's always value to somebody when in the workspace.
Yeah, definitely. Josh, this has been a fascinating conversation. I've known you for a while,
Mm.
but I have learned so much in just the last hour talking to you that
Good,
I didn't
good.
know. And sometimes what people have done, but you didn't know how they did it. And it's very interesting and insightful to hear a little bit more deeper about your background because I get the pleasure of being able to talk to you and other people who have gone through interesting journeys. And I feel every single time I have a great conversation like this, I myself am growing and learning things that I didn't have or possess that information before.
I feel the same way.
So I just want to say thank you for taking the time to be here, to share your skills and your perspective on your career arc here.
Thank you, Noah. This was awesome. I love doing this. Can't wait to hear the rest of the series. And thanks for having me.
Thank you to Talia Anisfeld for recommending Josh as today's guest, and to you, our listeners, for joining us on this episode of Transferable Skills. Remember, if you found value in today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with your friends and network. Your support helps us reach more people who could benefit from these stories. Transferable Skills is produced by Cackle Media and music by Cost Monkey. We'd also like to thank our sponsor for this episode is Handily. Your support helps make this podcast possible. Head over to gethandily.com to video chat with pros on demand for expert advice on your home DIY projects. And don't forget to use coupon code MADSKILLS to get your first 15-minute session free. For more resources and inspiration on leveraging your skills for a successful career transition, visit our website at www.cacklemedia.com. Follow us on social media platforms at Cackle Media for updates and join our community of listeners who are all about embracing change and growth. If you have any questions, feedback, or want to share your own career pivot story, email us at skills@cacklemedia.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening, and remember, the skills you've gained can take you anywhere. Until next time, keep exploring those transferable skills.